watched as complacency replaced discipline. We sat on the sidelines as clickbait replaced our history. And we kept silent as our skill sets and careers became automated, antiquated, routine, and forgotten. This is unacceptable. We're here to guide you towards putting down your number and reclaiming your given name. We're here to guide you towards your vision of freedom. The world has changed, and there's no more room for willful ignorance. So to those happy with being stuck, with being complacent, this podcast's not for you. But to those looking for more, follow us as we reclaim it all. For our children, for our grandchildren, and for future generations to come.
From somewhere deep undercover in the Pacific Northwest, this is the American Reveille Podcast, and here is your host, James Lane.
Ooh, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? I think I'm going to start doing that. I keep hearing people in songs go, so I think now, in the middle of what I'm talking about, I'm going to randomly just do that from now on. So, Veni Vidi Velcro, ladies and gentlemen, Veni Vidi Velcro. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, guys, but I think it's Latin. I'm not being serious, but it means I came, I saw, I stuck around. And that's right, folks. I'm here, sticking around, and I'm firmly planted in my throne, my cheap-ass computer chair that I bought off Craigslist for $10 when I moved back from the Philippines in 2018. So if I could compare it to any other throne, I would probably most compare it to the Iron Throne from Game of Thrones, with each sword basically representing a shooting, horrifying sciatica pain. If you don't get the joke, you're probably too young. I'm saying my back fucking hurts. But I digress. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is James Lane, and I am the host of the illustrious and ongoing American Reveille Podcast. Thanks so much for having me, and I'm having a blast writing this stuff. All night hopped up on Mountain Dew, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, last time we talked about time management, and we really started getting into what matters, things like hard work versus having a degree. And I mentioned that I think a degree is important if you can get one, but still, at the same time, the hard work and the discipline really define a person and what they're really capable of. So a driven, obsessed, and disciplined person with no degree but a solid plan is going to have much more success and most likely even make more money than the person who really just clings to their degree but isn't really willing to earn their stripes. Do the dirty work, if you know what I'm talking about. Look, you're going to have to face the reality that if somebody has a bachelor's degree, even an associate's degree, and they're also driven and disciplined, they're probably going to zoom past you if they're able to represent themselves properly and can really be effective and communicate. But this is where I see a lot of people screw up. So many times I can remember saying to myself, how come they've got this and I don't have this? Or how come they're there and I'm not? You know, how come Mike got the promotion, not me? How come Sarah's business succeeded and not mine? Why do I suck so much? I can remember being paralyzed with jealousy and envy and just watch people zip past me over and over while I failed again and again and again. And I came to the realization that everyone has kind of uneven starting points. So you're going to have to accept that life just isn't always fair. And that's just that. It turns out that if we worry about all the garbage and think about other people's achievements, it really does get in the way of having the time to even think of succeeding. So considering what I just said, I actually have a theory as to why it seems that the American dream exists for some and not for others, and how we really can get back on track to restoring an American dream for every American to at least have the opportunity to chase. So as you can tell so far, this episode's kind of following a slightly different format. So hang with me, and I want you to really let me know what you think of it. And if you like it, we'll continue to do a little bit more like this. It's just going to be subtle. You won't notice it too much, but you may. So just let me know. Anyway, at some point in our young lives, we had an idea or a vision of what the American dream is or was, what we thought it was supposed to be. Like like that white picket fence stuff we hear about now and then in older movies and maybe stuff our parents or even we talk about at our age. But I want you to think back to a time when you had a dream of what or who you wanted to be before the contemporary world around you told you to get your head out of the clouds or to stop dreaming. I also want you to think about some sort of dream that maybe you have now, even if it's tiny, even if it's just a whisper. I want you to ask yourself, if you think these things are possible in the current world we live in, and even back before the crap we're going through now, I know they can feel impossible. Inching towards your goals and dreams step by step, feeling like you're getting nowhere. It's normal, and everybody feels like it's impossible. I kind of feel like the way things are set up really kills the American dream for some people, and I think we should really talk about that a little bit. Look, folks, I'm far from perfect, and though I pride myself in the research I do on topics that I talk about and also in my own experience, I'm not always right. I get things wrong all the time. So please feel free to reach out to me on Twitter or, at my email, jameslane@americanreveille.com or at the website, www.americanreveille.com, and just let me know if there's something I messed up or if you have any feedback. I really appreciate it, and it allows me to really improve the show and the show's credibility. So anyway, I watched my mom work for years and years just chasing a better credit score. Every year, she saved and saved, she paid things down, she paid more things down, and all the while, she was working multiple jobs as a single parent, just dreaming of the day that the creditors would stop calling. And it was, a lot more unregulated back in the 90s, as a lot of you may remember, and some of you may not. I remember as a boy, I would actually fuck with the creditors. They would call like at all weird hours, and I would tell them horrible things like, "Oh, why are you calling? My mom left me alone. She's been in an accident. I haven't seen anyone in 2 days." Or I tell them that she was like working the corner. So I put that poor woman through hell. I definitely owe her a lot, but I never said I was a saint, guys. I have a lot of payments I've paid out, if you know what I mean, to karma. But anyway, I remember the day she finally got an 800 credit score. And I remember the sad irony, because she laughed when she found out that her credit score was perfect, but she just didn't make enough money to use it for anything. It's terrible. I asked her, I said, "Mom, why didn't you do something else? Why didn't you try for more?" And she said, Jimmy, she calls me Jimmy. She said, "Jimmy, no one ever told me how." She said that to me. She said nobody ever told her how. And that's a very different statement than what you hear from a lot of other people. Many people say that no one ever told them to go and do it and to go do something. And that's not what I'm saying. Those people maybe don't have discipline, but that's not my mom. My mom worked and still worked her ass off. She was laid off on March 3rd with the lockdown happening in Florida, but my mom busts her ass, and she worked 3 jobs at certain points, and at certain points we were also homeless. She worked her ass off to give me a life she never had, and her response to why she didn't do anything else was that she just didn't know how. Nobody ever told her she could. So pardon my language, but that's a fucking problem. I hate that fact. I hate the fact that my mom has worked so hard for so little in return. And I can bet that I'm not alone in this boat. I bet there's thousands of you who've watched one of their parents or both of their parents just work themselves practically to death. And it's not that hard work isn't honorable. Of course, hard work is honorable. But my mom has all of the skills, and I know this for a fact because I've worked with people at this level. My mom has all of the skills that an executive manager would have from working 30 years in her industry and basically teaching it to others who would go on to be far more successful for pennies. And if she had just focused the hard work in a different direction or knew her legal rights in certain situations, the sky might have been the limit, but nobody ever told her how. So you have to ask yourself, has anybody told you how? Has anybody told you how to have a dream, how to follow it? This country is supposed to afford us all the chance, not necessarily a guarantee, but the chance at something better than what we started out as. And that the exchange is that we're supposed to go out and put in this hard ass work for it. And that's fine for a lot of us. The issue lies in putting in the hard ass work in the wrong direction, because no one ever showed us, possibly, how to figure out which way was up and which way was down, which way was left and which way was right. A direction, much more clearly, not necessarily a direction, but how to even start thinking about a direction. And even deeper than that, how to even begin at anything when it seems like there's nothing at all to start with or from. So we've all heard the story of Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he's actually a personal hero of mine. He came to this country with barely anything, and by sheer hard work and grit, he became a champion bodybuilder, a movie star, a governor. He was an idol of mine as a kid, and I used to read his bodybuilding encyclopedia religiously. It actually got me through a lot of rough times. You know, he was kind of like an imaginary mentor, if I think back on it. And, well, we've all heard his story, but what we don't ever hear about when it comes to these rags to riches stories, these success stories, is the help along the way. No one does it alone. And I bet you, if you asked Mr. Schwarzenegger himself, he would tell you, and I mean no disrespect by assuming, but I bet he would tell you that wise mentors, and I personally call them angels, but mentors who cared about him came into his life and really truly helped guide him towards the how portion of his dreams. So I think as Americans, there's a lot more of us than you think that really have no guidance. And I think that it may be that it has to do with a major difference between the upper and lower classes in this country. And by no means am I suggesting anything other than a discussion and a slight difference. But look, I have friends that come from well-off families, and I also have friends that come from middle-class families, friends that come also from the varying levels of the flaky crusted bottom like I come from. And, there's one thing that everybody agrees upon, and I've seen it, and so have you if you really look at the bigger picture, if you really do think about it. So there's a lot of wealthy families, and not all of them, of course. Obviously, nothing's set in stone, but many wealthy families don't always have the same distractions and addictions as families in the lower classes of society do. Not classes per se, but lower rungs. Every income bracket comes with its own set of challenges. And I'm not saying that wealthy families don't have challenges. What I'm saying is there's kind of a difference. It's my belief that wealthy families are able to spend a lot more time with their kids. They're able to teach them more interpersonal skills. The families that aren't always suffering the same addiction problems and dysfunctions, they don't pass on these problems to their kids either. Their kids end up learning valuable networking skills. They learn all of these great things and the value of friendships, relationships. These connections, the stability, it ends up aiding these kids, and generation after generation, the stacks, it continues. And so it's not their fault. They shouldn't be punished or penalized for this just because their family generations ago, or even their parents or even themselves made smart moves. We should be striving to make those smart moves ourselves. So if the family earned it, they earned it. And people in Washington that call for them to give it away, they really must have never worked hard for anything. Because coming from a family that was never told how, I don't understand why this can't be corrected slightly by at least offering, say, some better tools to children in low income to middle class school systems. So maybe some classes to help teach networking, self-branding, self-reliance. I mean, it's a start, isn't it? So I don't hear anyone talking about this very often, and I always hear that we should punish the rich, but no one ever solves any problems for the poor. Forget punishing rich people, and let's focus on recalibrating our school systems to better align with producing purposeful, happy, and healthy adults that aren't in the way people, that are a burden to society, that really contribute and lead to the prosperity of this country. So here's what happens with many of us. We go to school. We feel like we're in a factory. We get ushered from one building to the next. We fulfill some imaginary testing quota. I had free lunches, and that was exciting because mayo and cheese sandwiches got old sometimes at home. So it's funny thinking back how ungrateful, by the way, I seemed, even though some days I'd never really had much to eat at home. So at least for me, my mom's not home. She's working one of her multiple jobs, so I'm alone. There's no skills being taught to me at this point, except how to make ramen noodles, maybe. And for many of you, even if your parents were home, they were exhausted. They depended on the school system to not only educate you scholastically, but to also educate you in life. And that thing that our parents were supposed to do, our stressed, overworked parents, our knocked out parents, raise us into good adults, it didn't happen the way it was supposed to. And this stacks up generation after generation as well, making it harder and harder for the kids to really break free from the previous generation's own brand of vomit and garbage. So if we can at least start offering maybe some classes and explain the value of following fear sometimes, the importance of building networks, the necessity of advocating for yourself, I mean, the list is endless and it's all beneficial. It could be evened up a little, and the gap between the top and the bottom could naturally narrow slightly, with ideas like this becoming a topic of discussion. I mean, I know what I'm saying isn't super in depth, and I'm not speaking in big words and scientific terms, but that doesn't mean that it holds any less weight than something else. And I always see one side saying that everything should be free and the other side that's saying that everything should be earned. And well, I don't agree with any free rides, but at the same time, you can't earn everything if you have no idea how. And at least with some classes on interpersonal skills and networking, man, someone at least could potentially find a mentor to help them get to the next rung on the ladder, if you know what I'm trying to say. So the big dose of technology the last generation or two got hit with really made it so social skills weren't deemed as that important in person. But now we're kind of finding out that these skills were a little more valuable than we thought, and we took them for granted slightly, and that's okay. We can recover for this as a people. So this isn't for everybody, of course. This is just one area of the population. We all have our positives and negatives, and we all bring our own experiences and experience to the table. And really, by working together, we can help uplift each other. These skills are the place we start. They aren't the destination. It's like the destination is the beginning to get to the real destination. It's like a Inception, a dream within a dream within a dream. So, yeah, I'm sorry. I stole that from Aziz Ansari. I watched that Netflix special one time. So, look, I'll give you an example that many of us can relate to. Ever look way up the ladder in the place that you work? Like, just look up the imaginary ladder, and you ever see like that line manager, then his boss, the production manager, maybe then his boss, the senior manager, then I don't know, his boss, the junior executive. It just, use your imagination. It depends how your company's structured or your business is structured. But have you ever noticed in some instances that senior manager may have been with the company for 32 years grinding his way up, while the junior executive is 24 with a bachelor's degree in political science, and then we bitch and moan about how someone's kissing someone's ass or someone's family member's related to someone. We make these excuses all the time, but the real truth, at least part of the truth, in my humble opinion, is the difference in family stability and income that 24-year-old executive possibly had coming up compared to the grizzled senior manager. Now, again, there's many different combinations of things that decide one's path and destiny in the long run, but still I believe that entitlement we all knock people for, in combination with the ability to talk, network, and sell themselves, really get those 24-year-olds in those jobs a little more than just that imaginary entitlement we think of. So all the while, other people work 32 years, and we see this all the time. They barely move up a rung or two on the ladder, while the difference really is that one person knew the how. They knew where to look and what to ask for, while a lot of the others really figure and find things out at varying degrees, kind of just ending up at different places on the canvas. All the while, other people work 32 years and barely move up 2 rungs on the ladder. One person knew the how, they knew the where, they knew what to ask for, and the other really had to just figure things out at varying degrees. And these people, us that we're talking about, that figure these things out at varying degrees of timing and luck and hope, we end up at different places on the canvas. So we should go take a moment to look at ourselves in the mirror. In fact, get up and go walk to the bathroom. Do it with the fan on and the lights off because it's weird for some reason. No, take a look in the mirror and try to tell me I'm wrong. Find something to argue with me about, because we really should have this discussion. It would be beneficial for all of us. And while you go do that, I'll be right back.
American Reveille Podcast with James Lane would like to take a moment to thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to tune into the show. It's because of great fans like you that we strive to deliver the best quality content one can create as fast as one can fling the pen. The American Reveille Podcast with James Lane would also like to remind you that the American Reveille Podcast with James Lane is, in fact, sponsored by James Lane. James Lane also writes, directs, records, edits, and produces this podcast. On top of that, James Lane also handles the daunting task of running the social media management, and did I mention he also manages the webpage, email lists, creates and designs the artwork, and everything else you could think of. With that being said, a good little boy never misses his opportunity to sell himself, and though James would never ask you for your money, he would like to let you know that if you absolutely love this podcast, the writing, the art, its production, anything, please do us the personal favor of liking, sharing, tweeting, texting, and talking about this podcast. James Lane is a father, a husband, a U.S. Navy veteran, and is personally committed to the success of the American Reveille Podcast. For booking inquiries, potential sponsors, volunteers, internship inquiries, feedbacks, comments, or suggestions, please email James Lane directly at podcast@AmericanReveille.com, or please visit our website at www.AmericanReveille.com. Now, let's get back to the show.
All right. Hey, guys, this is James Lane, and the American Reveille Podcast is back. We are talking about taking back your own version of the American dream. So, folks, the path to the dream isn't supposed to be easy, but it should at least be startable. Don't you agree? The time we're in right now, it's kind of interesting. And I said in a previous episode, and I'll repeat it, it almost feels like we're in a time warp of some sort, like a timeline split off and we're now living in some tiny version of an alternate reality. This virus, as not as extremely damaging as we thought it would be, though any loss of life has been terrible, this virus did change a lot of things that many people didn't notice too much about. Businesses kind of have been finding new use for telework options. Some companies have been on their death throes. And at the same time, many new companies are being born and new technologies are starting to emerge. And they're being developed during this period of deregulation caused by the pandemic. And these unique needs are requiring fulfillment, and this fulfillment's going to end up showing us some pretty cool stuff eventually, I think, once the bad stuff's over with. So over the next few months and possibly even longer, there's a real opportunity for many Americans, in my opinion, to change their lives. I see it like it's simple, even though it's not. It would really take a ridiculous amount of work to figure out a way in, a crack through the ceiling, like I've said in a previous episode, akin to tearing a hole in reality and driving your creation into existence. But humans are capable. It's doable. People have done this under far worse circumstances. So, like London during the bombings in World War II, for example. Again, I'll say it again. How bad do you want it? So, usually, a lot of us live in a world where everything's been solved and there's nothing to do. But now that we kind of live in a world that's going through something no one alive has gone through, the system's shaken up and turned upside down a little bit temporarily. And I think that kind of creates a portal almost, allowing for some new ideas to be tested maybe, and some new solutions to arise as well. Who knows? All I know is that there's value in this for us. If we work hard in the right direction, there's value in this. So how do we take back our American dreams? I think we recognize that it's our right to fight for our dreams and that we should know how to go after them. We work hard to improve ourselves and our opportunities to take steps towards our near-term and ultimate goals. We come together. Again, we come together as families and communities to get on the same page and work in the same direction. And we support each other in our growth, our goals, our aspirations. It's obvious. Look, I'm a believer in the idea that human beings are tribal creatures. This is what seems to make the most sense to me, according to my perception of the data that I'm examining. It seemed so hard for so long to snap out of it and really understand what needs to be done to accomplish my dreams and my goals. And I always said that if only someone had told me the how, it would have saved me so much time. By working hard to improve our interpersonal and social skills, our self-branding in the workplace, and our ability to seek and maintain a purpose, driving towards that purpose, we can accomplish so much more than what it seems like, especially if our mindsets are in the right place. And having the right mindset, that is so powerful in and of itself. I mean, you can literally go from paralyzed and miserable about a task one day to energized and giddy the next, based solely upon your mindset and how you perceive the situation in that moment. I mean, besides all the BS of having to go through it, if you step back and really examine it, it's really cool stuff that like hurts your brain when you think too hard about it for too long. So again, right now, while everyone's not looking, we should be looking for honest and ethical opportunities while there's a way in. And over the next few months, we're going to see many lives change in both directions. So let's take a swift and speedy break, and when we get back, we'll talk about our hopes for the future of the American dream, especially now that we're having this American Reveille together. So we'll be right back, folks.
Reveille Podcast with James Lane would like to take a moment to thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to tune into the show. It's because of great fans like you that we strive to deliver the best quality content one can create as fast as one can fling the pen. The American Reveille Podcast with James Lane would also like to remind you that the American Reveille Podcast with James Lane is, in fact, sponsored by James Lane. James Lane also writes, directs, records, edits, and produces this podcast. On top of that, James Lane also handles the daunting task of running the social media management, and did I mention, he also manages the webpage, email lists, creates and designs the artwork, and everything else you could think of. With that being said, a good little boy never misses his opportunity to sell himself, and though James would never ask you for your money, he would like to let you know that if you absolutely love this podcast, the writing, the art, its production, anything, please do us the personal favor of liking, sharing, tweeting, texting, and talking about this podcast. James Lane is a father, a husband, a U.S. Navy veteran, and is personally committed to the success of the American Reveille Podcast. For booking inquiries, potential sponsors, volunteers, internship inquiries, feedbacks, comments, or suggestions, please email James Lane directly at podcast@AmericanReveille.com, or please visit our website at www.AmericanReveille.com. Now, let's get back to the show.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is James Lane, and we are here for the third segment of the American Reveille Podcast. How you guys doing? We are talking about the future of the American dream, and we're talking specifically about what our hopes are for the American dream and where its future may lie. So I think that the American dream has really never actually gone anywhere. It's just been our awareness regarding how to achieve the dream that's specifically fluctuated up and down over time. I mean, this particular era has really been kind of a soft one, with nothing too bad really happening to us collectively as a species on this planet. I'm not talking about the small things that happen around the world that affect us and everybody that are terrible. I'm saying the entirety. So I really believe that because of this global shared crisis or pandemic or panic or whatever you want to classify it as, that we're all facing it, we've been seeing a lot of people achieving things that we never thought they could. I said in a previous episode, we're going to see people step up who we never, ever thought would or were capable, and we'll see people we expected to succeed, and we'll also see them fail right in front of us. It's just going to be a slightly different time, but the opportunity is there. If you can see past all of the negativity around us right now, you could get a ticket to at least try to play in the game. So what's the future of the American dream for us as a people, as a culture, as a country, as Americans, and in the face of the rest of the world? I think the United States really took a big hit, but if Americans are famous for anything, it's got to be for coming out of the gate slow and then dominating in the second half. And knowing that the American spirit is real and alive and what it's capable of, it really is going to be seen in a lot of people. And so this is exactly one of the big reasons why I created this podcast. The shared crisis, in my opinion, is just a wake-up call. And Americans are coming together all over this country, many of which were never expected to step up in the first place. And this wake-up call is what I really refer to as the American Reveille, this 21st century kind of reawakening of the American spirit. So I say, don't judge a book by its cover, because we're going to see some stuff from people we never would have expected. And this is what it's going to turn out to be. And I want to be a part of it. And I know you do too. So we can be the ones who called it early. And there are good times ahead. And we just have to come together and plug forward. I really think that for a while, it was almost cool for people to almost, I guess I would say, hate on their own country. And it seemed, and it still kind of seems a little like the popular thing to do is to go against each other, to kind of fight with each other over stupid stuff that we really should settle peacefully. And all the while, when we waste this time fighting each other, we could be trying to figure out better ways to feed our families and make more money. So last year at some point during the summer, I got home from work, and around 3 p.m., I decided to harness up my little Chihuahuas that we have and kind of take them for a walk. It's Butters and Chucho. And I remember they're, by the way, little tan. Butters is about 15 pounds, half dachshund, half Chihuahua, a little more on the Chihuahua side, but fat and tan with the pink nose. And Chucho is a little tiny, like 9-pound, more dachshund than Chihuahua, long body, kind of brown, ridiculous cartoon character of an animal. I don't even think he's a dog. I think he might be something from Lilo and Stitch. I don't know. But anyway, I remember that I couldn't help but notice just how many people already by 3 p.m. were just sitting on the couch watching TV. I mean, I wasn't trying to look in, but I told you before, they think I have ADD. So I couldn't just focus on walking the dog. So I accidentally saw a pattern. And having accidentally noticed how many people in my apartment complex on the first floor were just dozing off by 3, I realized that this must be happening all over the country. The repetition of just going to work day in and day out with no actual belonging or purpose seems to just destroy the spark in people after a while. And I know you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. So there has to be more to life, doesn't there? It can't just be go to work every day, drink on the weekends, do it every week, and then one day, drop dead, die. And honestly, isn't it now more than ever, more and more people just understand this and need us to come together and build each other up? I mean, we can't afford to be repeating these same patterns. So I really think, since many people are now having to sit in front of that TV at 3 p.m. with no choice of doing anything else, I think they're going to feel this sense of helplessness, maybe a feeling like a lack of control. The illusion maybe of control they had before is possibly going to shatter. And maybe, just maybe, now they'll get up and start planning their actual futures. Perhaps now more people get to become who they were meant to be. Maybe now more people find out how to start making moves in the right direction. Either way, we can't focus on the negative crap floating around. The more people doing good stuff for themselves and others, the better this world gets. That's all I know. So I guess the only other thing I know is that any channel with a coronavirus death count ticker similar to a Super Bowl or Star Wars premiere countdown ticker probably doesn't have your best interest in mind whatsoever. So, guys, with that being said, take it into consideration. Do what you will with it. send me some messages, jameslane@AmericanReveille.com, or catch me on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, even LinkedIn. I'm on all that stuff. So just catch me if you have any issue with this or any feedback for me, or you just want to chat and ask me a question. So let's wrap this burrito up. I want everyone to take a step back. I want you to take a breath. I want you to be grateful for the love and put things into perspective. I want you to calmly start making moves in the best direction for yourself and your families. So if you're sitting around at home, nervous about the future, maybe unsure still about your family's safety and possibly even uneasy about your ability to provide, you need to really take the time. We all need to really take the time to look deep down inside ourselves and really just see what we're made of. So you have to ask yourself if you're willing to do the hard thing and improve yourself and help others to grow as well. You have to ask yourself if you're willing to bring the family back together as a team and not as a support structure or crutch to lean on, but as a family unit, as a unit functioning towards a common goal and collective betterment, a better life than you could have ever had anywhere else. The American dream. Until next time, folks, this is the American Reveille Podcast, and I am James Lane, clocking the fuck out. Stay firm, my friends.